Then the seventh principle of health that they taught, which was so brilliant, was they said, follow and do your passions. Whatever you're passionate about, do it. And the word passion literally means passing of ions. When you hear something that is true or something that you get goosebumps, and that's the ions.
I'm feeling it now again.
Isn't that something? And that's the passing of ions. And when you do the things that you love to do, you're going to live longer.
True.
It is so fascinating. The ancients knew it.
And the lack of passion kills people. Like people retiring and just consuming.
Yeah, it does.
There's no benefit anymore, and they very easily contract.
And so many people commit suicide because they haven't followed these principles of nature and health and following their passion, and they get just all screwed up.
Speaking of that, I mean, I think you've touched on the 7 things. If you look at mental health now, going back to the principle of contraction and expansion, you see people that get really elated, maniacal, or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Then you got the people that are very depressed. I think Dr. John DeMartini describes that as a loss of equilibrium, and you're either deflated or exhilarated. What's your view on that? You know, given this contraction and so on stuff, and health.
Typically, when it comes to the brain, and the ancients taught the doctrine of signatures, that a thing like unto itself is drawn. So they knew that a tomato, it looks like the heart, and if you cut it this way, it has 4 chambers, and it's like the heart. And now they know that it's good for the heart. A carrot, you slice it, looks like it has a pupil with an iris and radiating lines, and they knew that carrots were good for the eyes, and they are. And so I've been barking this and bringing it back. The last person to ever teach it publicly was Bohm, and that was back in the 1700s. And so I was one of the first people on this planet to bring it back, and I'm thankful that others are doing it too, and have been now. I've been teaching all this stuff for 56 years publicly around the world.
That's right. My wife has actually been a student of Don's, and that's how we met.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Man, it's so good to know you. It is.
Likewise.
Yeah. I just love young people that are on fire and doing things right, you know. But anyway, the brain.
So let's say the
if you get a walnut, that shell is just like the cranial cap.
Correct.
And you break it open, and the walnut looks exactly like the human brain. It's got the upper cerebrum, lower cerebellum, it's got the convoluted, it looks just like the brain. And the ancients knew that when you eat that, it targets the brain. And in fact, it's been shown that almonds look like part of the brain. And if you go through, and any of the nuts that you eat target the brain. And that's why anciently they said, go nuts.
Yeah, right.
Are you nuts? And that's where that phrase came from.
Go nuts, yeah.
Isn't that funny? And it targets it. And you can even crush them into nut butters. They learned to do that with rocks and things thousands of years ago.
And they're also part of pulse, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. And we now make the pulse. It's all organic, non-GMO, all healthy stuff. And we have the pulse bags, and we get it out there to people, and it just blows them away. Yeah.
We've been consuming them as well, so I'm a believer.
That's so
and consumer.
Cool. Yeah. And so this wonderful man right here, he's going to send you some information about people here in Australia that actually get our real products that we make in the United States, and they ship them over to here, and the 5 people here, 5 or 6 of them, they'll post it to you. Or if you're in the same area, you can drive over and get it from them. I mean, you don't have to pay the postage from the U.S. to here. It's expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't have to pay any of that. And so anyway, you can do all of that. And then